Hi, I'm Brent, and this is why I think that the BCS system as it stands today should be abolished. Based on the events over the last 3 weeks, USC beating Ohio State, USC then falling to Washington, and Washington falling to Stanford. If you look at those three games, and only those 3 games, then Stanford should be ranked higher than Washington, and Washington ranked higher than USC, and USC ranked higher than Ohio State. After this weekend and all the craziness that it is in college football, you had multiple teams in the top 5 fall this weekend to unranked opponents. After the dust settled, USC and Ohio State were ranked in the top 10. USC being ranked higher than Ohio State. The only reason why USC is ranked higher than Ohio State is because USC beat Ohio State in a heads-up matchup, and I can understand how you would want to rank USC higher than Ohio State because of that. If you take the game into perspective and the other 2 games I just mentioned, using the same logic, Stanford should be ranked higher than Ohio State and USC. We all know that Stanford is not as high a caliber team as Ohio State and USC. Stanford would probably fall at the end of the season somewhere around the 24th, 25th, or just in one of the ranks of the unranked, who are just barely out of the BCS top 25. My proposal is that at the end of the season, each of the conference winners, after playing a conference championship game, they would then take the top conference winner from each of the 6 conferences in the upper 6, the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, the Big East, ACC, and the Pac-10. They would then take one of the remaining conference winners and make them the 7th slot, finally with an 8th slot being reserved for one team from anywhere in college football, including the FBS series, so that a Division I or Division II school which has earned its right to play for a national championship would be allowed to play. Then you would have the number 1 play the number 8, the number 2 play the number 7, and so on. Teams like Notre Dame, Navy, and Army would then be required to join a conference. The reason they would have to join a conference is because the conference going to the national championship game, the money from that game would be divided equally, and it would be coming from the commissioners down, would be divided equally across the entire conference. This helps improve teams like in the Big 10, Indiana, Purdue, and ones who are typically on the bottom half of the Big 10 to get money towards their programs, and the ones who have the larger endowments, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, would still have to share their spoils equally among the conference. College football should be more about the player, the student athlete, the student, than it should be about the money that the school gets from a bowl game. Right now, as it stands, the BCS and their decisions on how a bowl should be run, the reason they leave it to the 4 bowl games that they have now is because they make more money by leaving the national championship a guess than they do by making it a 3-week schedule. Just as in the pros, you would have 4 games the first week, 2 games the second week, and the final game being the national championship. By doing this, you would secure a true national championship with no bias, even though there are a few teams out there in the lesser conferences who will beg to differ. If you look at over the past 30 years, the WAC and the Mountain West have not produced a team other than Utah who have been a high enough caliber to go to a national championship game. But in the case of Utah last year, if there was a championship playoff, Utah would have beat Alabama still, and they would be able to go on and play for a national championship if they won the second game. My personal opinion is that no matter what happens, until we play a true playoffs type schedule, then we will not have a national champion.